In Shanghai, a small army has less than 1 year to complete a $40 billion challenge.
在这之前，世界上还没有这么近的距离穿越过一个运行中的地铁线。我们接下来就要做这些准备工作。
The challenges include tunneling less than 2 meters away from a busy subway line, building and operating China's largest tunneling machine, moving a 1,000-ton bridge.
So it's quite a mission impossible, but we have to do it.
But can they really do it? Shanghai 2010. The Bund, or China's Wall Street. 150 years ago, this was home to a multinational banking powerhouse that spawned the likes of HSBC and Standard Chartered. Such was the Bund's success that it produced an area still famous today for its architecture and for its decadence. But after the Communist Revolution in 1949, the historic quarter was left to decay for over 50 years, until Shanghai won the bid to host the World Expo. With Expo on the horizon, the renewal of the Bund became a priority. Once known for its beauty, the whole area was in dire need of a facelift. And in typical Chinese style, Shanghai's city planners dared to dream the impossible. They made plans to use China's largest boring machine to create a 3-kilometer-long, 2-story tunnel underneath the Bund. They masterminded the removal and replacement of an entire 1,000-ton bridge. They envisaged the use of the reclaimed traffic lanes as a landscaped area. And they began refurbishing over 25 historic buildings. To achieve this, they set aside $40 billion. There was only one problem. By the time the necessary groundwork was completed, there was less than a year left to deliver these towering ambitions. We follow the teams facing this impossible challenge. Have the planners been too ambitious? With high expectations, tight deadlines, and a unique history to uphold, can these teams really meet their deadlines and be ready for a May opening of World Expo? In August 2007, preliminary work on the tunnel that would divert traffic off the Bund began as China's largest boring machine arrived. Taking over a year to assemble, it's finally ready to go in January 2009. This tunnel boring machine, named Tongtai, has a massive diameter of 14.27 meters. Its task: to dig a 3-kilometer-long, 13.95-meter-wide tunnel under the Bund so that 5 entire lanes of traffic can disappear underground, freeing a huge amount of space on the surface. As they begin their project, one single challenge looms largest.
这个工程最大的挑战主要是因为它在市区的，市区有很多比较有历史价值的这种古建筑。
But historic buildings are not the team's only problem. The Waibaidu Bridge, linking the Bund to the space-aged Pudong side, is also right above the tunnel. If they don't get it right, the bridge could collapse.
这个外白渡桥的墩层呢，重建了以后呢，这个尺寸非常小，穿越的过程中就像我们做绣花的活一样，这个绣花针穿越过去。
The bridge is the gateway to Shanghai's historic Bund. Traditionally known as Lover's Walk, the Bund, or embankment, runs alongside the Huangpu River. It became a thriving British settlement during the First Opium War in 1842, when Britons were given the right to reside in Shanghai. Their official status ended a period of Wild West lawlessness and initiated a new prosperity for Shanghai, with the Bund at the heart of this developing international hub. The Waibaidu Bridge soon became the main transport artery, connecting the Bund and Huangpu district to the Hongkou district. And the bridge still plays a crucial role in today's Shanghai.
这个就是桥跟那个盾构的位置关系。这个就是北墩，就是这个北墩，这是中墩，对吧？是。这是南墩，南墩呢稍微偏一点，可能偏过来的3、4米左右。是。但是现在同样的，就是这个 GBM 穿越的过程中呢，对这个3个墩子的那个影响啊，都是很大的。就是在穿越的过程中呢，它会引起周围的地层的沉降，那么也会引起这个墩台的沉降或者是开裂。那么的话会到了上部结构呢，它整个钢体就要超过它的受力范围，那么引起它的破坏和拉断。
Will the tunnel engineers manage to save the bridge from the impact of the boring machine? Waibaidu Bridge is just part of the $40 billion refurbishment of the Bund envisaged by Professor Wu Jiang from Shanghai's Tongji University. In 2007, he suggested an international urban landscaping competition to design an area where Shanghai's residents could enjoy anything from quiet contemplation to rollerblading.
城市它最重要的公共空间应该是滨水空间。那么，所以这一次我们的外滩改造，实际上就是要把上海最好的一片滨水空间重新还给上海，还给市民。
In March 2007, Shanghai invited 10 international firms to create a master plan for the redevelopment of the historic waterfront. The winning design was submitted by Harvard professor Alex Krieger's firm, CKS. But in order to make the waterfront a reality, the Bund's promenade would need to close for 33 months, enabling engineers to tunnel underneath it before the landscapers even start. The surface work will be done in just 11 months. 400 people will work flat out on this $15 million project. Engineer Li Min is in charge of the site, but is daunted by the size of the project.
如果这个工程要1年半的时间，我们能够花多长时间？
Her sentiments are echoed by her colleague, Mr. Chang. Brought in to help later, he has worse problems. His site is littered with underground pipes, which need to be cleared before he can even start. While Li Min has 11 months to complete a project that should take 1.5 years, Engineer Chang, in charge of the rest of the site, cannot even start some of the work he must do until the month before the site needs to be opened. Originally intended to be 30 feet wide, a 60-foot wide granite walkway was eventually built in 1856. Then, in 1920, the local council widened the Bund Esplanade to 120 feet, incorporating a tramway, traffic lanes, and a new lawn exclusively for foreigners. Li Min and Mr. Chang will more than double this stunning promenade. And as the landscaping and tunnel projects proceed apace, across the road at the former British consulate, now known as Bund 33, the team is struggling to balance the needs of the historic site with the desperate time pressure. Ling Yingsong and Chiu Hong are the architects responsible for its renovation and restoration.
为了保证这个建筑在开挖整个地下室，就是开挖边上的这个地下室的过程当中，不至于有这个倾斜或者沉降，或者对它产生威胁危害，所以我们就对整个建筑的基础进行一个拖换，一个整体的拖换，来保证它的一个整体性。我们在原来的这个墙身勒角的这个部分开个口，然后把一根工字钢梁放进去。
The original British consulate at Bund 33, built in 1852, burnt down in 1870. The present building opened 3 years later. Like all the buildings on the Bund, this effectively floats on a sea of mud, with the ground floor expected to settle almost half a meter. 2 years ago, the Chinese government, who now own the building, developed plans to turn it into an exhibition space for the World Expo and a potential museum. The restoration process is highly specialized and painstaking work. For Bund 33, the project will take 18 months and cover a total floor area of 6,000 square meters. The foundations are just one of the challenges Ling and Cho must face. Working with design restoration specialists and one of China's top horticulturists, they have to fit 21st century features into a 19th century building.
原来这座建筑呢，它是不需要这些就是空调设备、新风设备，还有就是它的用电负荷也没有现在这么大。还有呢，就是说包括网络、弱电的这些安保设备啊，都不需要这么强。就是说，但是现在我们用了新功能之后，这些设备都需要加进去。加进去呢，就势必会对历史建筑会有一个破坏，同时要占据很多的房间和空间。所以我们的解决方案呢，就是把这些设备机房通通放在附近的地下室，然后接到整个建筑当中去。
With historical, technological and timing challenges ahead, can these teams really pull off the impossible and be ready for the opening of Expo in May? On Shanghai's waterfront, a transformation is underway. The city is expecting 70 million visitors for World Expo. And a huge amount of work has to be completed in time. But the Bund is more than a temporary tourist attraction.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
Starting life as a seedy trading hub with opium its prime commodity, the Bund became a world-class banking center, dominating Eastern finance for almost a century. Between 1847 and 1927, 35 foreign banks opened key operations here. Modern global giant HSBC was one of these. Opening on the 4th of March 1865, it heralded the start of a banking explosion and catapulted the Bund to global financial stardom.
So the events leading up to the founding of the bank unfolded over about a year. It started in 1864 when a ship arrived in Hong Kong bearing the rumour that a bank was going to be started in India, but a Bank of China. Now, when Thomas Sutherland heard this rumour, he immediately went home and he drew up a prospectus for a local bank based in Hong Kong and Shanghai. By March the 3rd, 1865, they opened the very first branch for business.
Founded as the first bank to serve Hong Kong and Shanghai's local and international communities, HSBC was soon thriving.
The Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank had to open on the Bund in Shanghai. It was the place to be. It was where all the foreign agencies, all the foreign merchants, all had their warehouses, their godowns, their offices. They were all on the Bund.
The Bund had become so important that when HSBC outgrew its first HQ, it opened its new offices on the same spot. Just a few doors down from HSBC's original Shanghai HQ on the Bund, a team of architects, designers, artisans and construction workers are coming face to face with the Bund's colonial past. Here, architects Ling and Cho are getting to grips with their biggest problem: how to balance the needs of the modern era with the integrity of one of the Bund's most historic buildings, the former British consulate. While outside, a different kind of team gets to work. Within the compound of Bund 33, there's a huge garden housing 27 state-protected trees that have been here since the consulate was first built. And just like the building itself, the trees are in need of help. And so a specialist tree doctor has been called in to check on their condition.
我们检测的首先是这一个高度的这个截面的里边的腐烂情况。我们钉的每一个钉子呢，是这边每个钉子上面都需要放一个传感器。现在需要把传感器挂在这树上面。通常来说呢，很多树外观是非常完整的，但是呢，里边已经发生了腐烂，光凭我们肉眼呢是无法看到的。所以呢，我们需要凭借这个机器来看一看里面是不是有真的腐烂了。它是用超声波的原理来就是检测出来的。声波在这健康的树木里边，就是比较坚硬的这个木质里边，传播的速度比较快；在这个腐烂的木质里边呢，传播的速度比较慢。它就是利用这个原理呢，看看这个树内部哪个地方腐烂了，哪个地方没有腐烂，呈现出一个二维的健康的图像。
第二次来了，好，结束了。
现在的图像呢已经呈现出来了，所以呢整体上来看呢，这个图像是非常健康的。
Trees have been venerated throughout China's long civilization, with different trees signifying everything from longevity to courage and even money. So to the Chinese, this work is critical. But the gardens at Bund 33 are not the only part of the project in need of specialist help. Award-winning conservation expert Filippo Gabbiani, chief architect of Kokai Studios, will oversee the interior design at Bund 33.
Being architects that we make both architecture, renovations and new buildings, for us it's very, very difficult to make architectural restoration because it's the most difficult task in architecture. Because as architect you really have to put your ego and your vision aside and to adapt yourself to the building.
To Filippo and his team, conserving the integrity of Bund 33 is the greatest challenge. And this historic building is in good company. The Bund thrived throughout the rest of the 19th century and well into the 20th, with dozens of buildings still standing which are world famous as architectural treasures. Across the river, engineers Qi Jiang and Hao Lian, whose two-story tunnel will divert traffic off the Bund, are about to pay a visit to one of the last buildings to be constructed during this heyday. The Broadway Mansions, then the tallest building in the city, opened in 1934. Its 99 apartments were laid out as bachelor pads, each comprising a sitting room with recessed fold-up bed. Today, Broadway Mansions has been restored as a luxury hotel, and the engineers need to have a difficult conversation with its managers.
这个大楼啊，是国家级的保护建筑，至今应该说有80年了，所以说这个不能有一点丝毫的损坏的现象。这文物管理局有明确规定的，我们这个大楼是不能随便动的，好不好？好。
But for Qi Jiang, it's not just his professional reputation at stake, but something far more personal.
这里面还有我私人的一些原因。主要是我外公年轻时候呢，他也参与了这个设计，他主要是负责上海大厦这个桩基础的一个设计的。我想从我们私人感情来讲，我自己也要尽我的最大努力来保留它。
But a huge engineering challenge soon becomes the chief focus. Because it's too weak to withstand the tunneling below, the historic Waibaidu Bridge needs to be moved, reinforced and replaced. Enter geomatics expert Duncan Lees, whose precise measurement system will show the engineers exactly what they're up against. Geomatics engineering combines precise measurement with 3D modeling and analysis. At the heart of the technique is accurate information.
What we're doing here is collecting enough scanner setup so that we can model the bridge, provide a precise engineering structural model of the bridge. There's a lot going on around here. We need to understand the complexity of all the work that's going on, and the bridge is a fundamental part of that. So we have to scan plenty of setups to get that information so we can model it. What we're doing now is move the scanner onto the next position and then put the camera, the photographic camera, onto the same position that the scanner was.
The geomatics team will also look at another problem. The tunnel is due to pass under a number of key historic sites, and the pair must make sure these are kept safe.
Have you pinged all the targets?
Yeah, I think we've got everything on the targets. I was just wondering whether they finished this. It's slightly better fitted out, this one up here, than downstairs. They must have.
It looks much more finished than I thought it would, actually. It's, yeah, it's all looking really impressive.
Very impressive, actually.
The team are taking precise snapshots of the tunnel from every angle, which will piece together as a whole picture. When the data is complete, Duncan will use a sophisticated computer program to create final 2D and 3D models. And while Qi Jiang and his team get to grips with information delivered from the very latest technology, Li Min and her team are facing a much more low-tech challenge.
你知道我们是靠天吃饭的，对吧？靠天工作的。如果下雨的话，对我们的工作影响你可想而知。那我们铺的这种花岗岩，对吧？碰到雨它就不能干，不能硬。平时我们应该是来得及的，到3月28日。现在我们是一天当做3天用了，把我们后来的时间都挤掉了。
Pressure on the team is mounting fast, and her colleague, engineer Cheng, calls an emergency meeting.
集装箱，待会给我个信息。 集装箱是不是拎掉了？春节前是想尽一切办法要把集成做光。其实要下雨更有趣。下雨是另外一回事，我们现在不谈下雨的事情。
The most important holiday in China, Chinese New Year, runs over 15 days and symbolizes both the beginning of the year and a time to be with family. But for the team, this causes a big problem. No workers for more than 2 weeks. With an entire bridge to move, foundations of historic buildings under threat, rain, and an upcoming holiday stopping work just when every second counts, things don't look good for the fast-approaching deadlines on China's Wall Street. Restoring the Bund is not just about history and reviving a decayed quarter of Shanghai. The Bund is being primed for a new role on the world stage, and it's one that looks set to outshine even its past glories. In order to be ready to host the World Expo, the historic Bund is undergoing a miraculous transformation. 3 teams are working day and often night to ensure that everything is ready in time. Here, a team of tunnelers is moving heaven and earth to create a tunnel under the famous road, which landscapers can transform into a riverside idyll fitting for this 21st century financial powerhouse. Already successfully navigating the foundations of a number of historic buildings, the tunnel engineers now have another problem. They need to replace 800 rotting piles which form the foundations of the Waibaidu Bridge, with 12 giant concrete pillars. So the team has come up with a radical solution. They've decided to move the bridge. To do this, they've cut it in 2, placing each 500-ton section onto a barge, letting it drift 4.7 kilometers upstream to Minshanglu port, where the bridge has been reinforced completely before being brought back. The project has taken upwards of 2,000 men, who added new beams and steel supports, while also changing the materials of the bridge surface. Professor Wu Jiang from Tongji University spearheaded the original team tasked with planning this Bund transformation. And he has intimate knowledge of this extraordinary event.
把这个桥调走的那一天啊，很多市民通宵都不睡觉，在那等着看着这个景色，就是他们依依不舍，觉得这个桥是他们这个城市的一个非常重要的标志，他们送他走。
After 10 long months of work, the bridge is finally ready to go back. And as the bridge is being placed onto its newly reinforced foundations, a few meters from its southern tip, the pace of work at Bund 33, the former British consulate, is gathering speed. One of the highlights of the Bund 33 preservation effort is the unique grand staircase.
这是我们这栋建筑得以最完整保留的大楼梯的部分。它的所有的台阶，你们能看到都是由完整的，来自上海金山地区特产的那个花岗岩所制成的。整一个台阶就是一个完整的一个花岗岩的石阶。然后我们把这些部分都得以保留，包括台阶，包括它的扶手、栏杆的做法。为了对这个楼梯进行一个保护，因为这个已经是不可再生、不可复制的一个资源，所以我们在整个施工过程当中，对它进行了用那个板材对它进行了一个保护，使它在整个修缮过程中不受破坏。
Beyond the preservation of irreplaceable features like the staircase, the team is also trying to restore elements of the site which have all but disappeared.
这些柱子的样式是按历史原状的，但是它不是 original 的柱子。最大的困难就是它的样式和它具体的尺寸、比例的推敲，我们只能凭一张很模糊的照片，然后呢，把当时的这个设计风格进行仔细的比对和分析研究，还做了很多的模型，做三维的分析，跟历史照片进行比对，来确定柱子的尺寸、高度以及比例。
Working 7 days a week, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., the team are living on site, determined to finish on time. Back at the tunnel site, work continues 24/7. But the problem the engineers are facing now isn't technical, it's human, and it's above ground. The construction site is in a residential area, and the residents are not happy.
噪音吵啊，声音灰啊，对，这老房子里面一天不擦都是灰，出行不方便。
事故影响大了，现在都不通了呀。
那马路的吧，很脏兮兮的，乱七八糟的。
因为我们毕竟是在市中心的施工，而且周围的环境，离开我们又是那么的近，所以我们在文明施工上面呢，在外滩里面呢，其实是给我们一个很大的压力。
Ji Chang is dealing with public pressure less than 5 minutes from the Art Deco Hotel Broadway Mansions, built by his own grandfather during the Bund's heyday. At its height, the Bund symbolized the wealth and power of colonial China. It also had a darker side. Sustained wealth gave way to opulence in what soon became known as the Paris of the Orient.
第一次我去百乐门跳舞呢，就16岁，是跟同学一起去的。这个就是从前打扮的样子，就是穿那个旗袍，穿那个高跟鞋。到里面呢，可以去看每个人形形色色的小姐啊、太太啊，这里面的舞女啊，她们都打扮都漂亮。我呢想，哎呀，她们都是很开心的。我想两个人这样子去跳舞，也可以是谈谈说说啊，就是说把这个一天的，假如说有不开心的时候啊，听音乐。
But with the hedonism of the 30s and 40s long gone, what does the future hold for the Bund? Can it recapture its glory days? We're about to find out. With less than 30 days to go before the official opening, things are heating up at the waterfront area. On patrol again, engineer Chang is not happy with the finish of the newly reinforced 2,600-meter cement wall.
肯定大花脸。
它这样是转的，你看到吗？不要说了，不要说了。 就是最后弄一个人，他这个地方，
不，你弄个人啊，
最后一个人伸过去。
哦，我这弄一个人，就一个方向弄过去。啊，因为积灰太多，上面轻起不了，重新把它上面那个用沙皮抛光一次，抛光一次，因为石材这个有纹路的，跟工人讲的话要按照一个方向来，否则啊就是，如果你工人是一圈一圈弄的，会弄成个大花脸的。
In the end, there's no choice. The markings on the entire wall have to be removed and the wall recoated. Meanwhile, underground, the engineering team has successfully moved and replaced a bridge and built a 3.3-kilometer-long tunnel from boring the hole to completion in just 14 months. The team has safely avoided the foundations of a number of historical buildings, but now faces yet another huge challenge. This is Shanghai Metro Line, one of the world's busiest subways. But unknown to the 700,000 daily commuters, something above them, just 1.4 meters away, is potentially a great danger.
在这之前，世界上还没有这么近的距离穿越过一个运行中的地铁线。我们接下来就要做这些准备工作。
With so much at stake, any mistakes in the tunnel will cripple the entire subway system. In order to be ready to host World Expo, the historic Bund is undergoing a miraculous transformation. Three teams, architects, tunnelers and landscapers, are working day and often night to ensure that the waterfront is ready in time, with tempers running high and sleep increasingly a luxury. But the Bund's revival runs much deeper than the need to accommodate a 6-month-long expo. After the Communist Party swept to victory in 1949, the Bund, as a prime symbol of Western decadence within China's own borders, became a ghost town and lay all but derelict.
跳舞厅、赌博场，这流氓霸道到处。当时解放初期啊，有许多娱乐活动不健康的都给它关闭了，没有了，不存在了。
Then, in 1992, Chairman Deng Xiaoping made an important announcement. In his words, Shanghai will be the head of the dragon, pulling the country into the future. It was only natural that the Bund, the former heart of corporate Shanghai, should take its rightful place at the center of the city's aspirations. But was it viable to revive the Bund as China's Wall Street, or had the world forgotten Shanghai? Center stage on an ambitious and very 21st century project, the team tunneling underneath the Bund are about to tackle an unprecedented feat. Part of the tunnel lies just 1.4 meters above this major metro line, and digging above it will cause the tunnel to float upwards. Again, the team solves this problem with engineering flair. With very little margin for error, the team has decided to dig section by section, adding weight as they go, then taking it away. This allows them to keep a precise weight between 10 to 15 tons on each section of the tunnel at all times. And as the tunneling team surmount this truly monumental challenge, at Bund 33, intense rescue work continues in the garden. Diagnosis is just the first step. What follows is an elaborate process of tree rescue work, a process that involves identifying dead wood and looking for decay or cavities, as well as insect infestation. It's a unique and highly skilled method of creating fake stems to support weak branches that will, over the years, be blended into the living tree.
像这个部位呢，我们就是故意做一些果树的一种年代的变迁，经过时间的推演，然后做成这种基底效果。我们做这种仿生果树呢，尽量接近大自然回归自然的感觉，原生态的味道。我们做的果树呢，经过这个风吹雨淋日后的风吹雨淋，它颜色会产生自然的变化，它和大自然融入到一起去，感觉就像参树一样。
And while working in the grounds of the former British consulate is measured, inside the building it's a different story. The pressure is on, and everyone is rushing to complete their jobs, including the very delicate operation of laying floor tiles, which are based on the original design.
直接等着那摆上算了，1块摆卖不行吗？够了，靠在一起，这个往里面来，哎，好，好，就这样，再往这边来一点，来，2、3，摸着过来吧，好，
And as moving heavy air conditioning equipment across newly laid tiles is causing blood to boil, Hao Liang and Qi Xiang are buoyant. They've managed to move, reinforce and replace a 1,000-ton bridge and have tunnelled underneath the Bund, successfully avoiding damage to the adjacent metro, utilities pipes and the foundations of several historic buildings. But with just one day to go before inspection, they still have the huge task of clearing the entire area and laying the tarmac road. And all their triumphs will count for little if they fail to pass their inspection. Qi Qian is on his way to meet scanning specialist Duncan Lees to find out how well his tunnel measures up.
Hi. Morning. How are you? This is the laser scanner that we were telling you about. We've been using it to collect all of the measurement information on the tunnel so that we can look at the geometry of the measurements, how accurate the tunnel is. I can show you some of the data if you want. This is the scan control window, and we use this to set how we're going to take the scans. We can set how far apart the points are that we're going to measure on the tunnel. And because the laser scanner can collect so many, it's a much more complete data set for the whole of the geometry of the tunnel.
This is a crucial moment for the team.
Waiting for the motor. It is a fantastic piece of engineering. It's been very enlightening to be down here working. You know, the quality of the build, the way everything is set out, all of the engineering, everything is in the right place. You know, there's nothing that we've looked at today that points to any irregularities, any problems with the build at all. It's a very impressive structure.
But after such resounding praise, the team is in for a come-down. Puddles of water on the ground mean they cannot perform their final task to lay the tarmac until these have been cleared. With this unexpected delay, will Qi Xiang and his team be on track with their schedule? Meanwhile, on the waterfront area above the tunnel, they're also running out of time with many final touches still needed. Engineer Chang calls yet another emergency meeting.
侬反正中午那个晚上10点钟就上去切了。
怎么切怎么了？你不吃掉我怎么切？我那下回吃可以有些。
斜杆这倒无所谓的，这个是补那个，就是下面 边上是半块头的，切好了放在边上。你到了这个时候拆的时候，这个石头是丢不掉的。今天上午把北面修掉，下午修南面。然后呢，到了下午3、4点钟开始修地面。
While at the Bund 33 designer's office, chaos is also reigning. With less than a month to go before opening, the team has just been asked to construct a lift.
It's perfect to put the lift here, so we protect the rest of the original structure to be penetrated by a new lift. We raise a volume that there was all these technical volumes of baggage behind to bring back this grandeur of place, and now the client instead want to make a shaft again. It's not working. The lift is a very important upgrade in this building, and it's something that we cannot give up to have today, like to have toilet size that are suitable for modern use, as to have air conditioning, or to have heating system that can guarantee a modern comfort of life. But these are big issues in these kind of projects because the buildings themselves were not built and designed with materials that could resist to these thermal shocks. Well, this building particularly is designed with wooden structures. With air conditioning and heating, you can have dramatic cracks on the wood that they never experienced for 100 years, these kind of thermal shocks. And most of the most precious details can be lost.
One of the major concerns is how to adapt a house from the 1870s to cope with the technical requirements of the 21st century. If they don't get it right, they'll submit the building to cracking caused by rapid temperature changes.
Okay, so it's quite a mission impossible, but we have to do it. Okay, send out directly to subcontractor all these comments. Yeah. Send a letter directly to the project manager about the foundation. Okay. And let's make it done.
Yes.
Fast. Both for the lift and both also for the aircon. Yes. And let's hide them in the most beautiful way in this garden for you, huh?
Okay.
Okay. Take this. Take this. Okay. Okay.
With a new lift just ordered, puddles in the tunnel, and whole swathes of landscaping to redo, do the teams now have any hope of meeting the Bund's stringent deadlines? In order to be ready to host the World Expo, Shanghai's planners have embraced Chairman Deng's dream to turn the Bund back into China's Wall Street. But with a number of ambitious projects to complete, it's now far from certain that the city will be ready in time. For the tunnel and landscaping teams, they have just one day left until their final inspections, ahead of the opening of both the tunnel and the landscaped area above it. And here on the waterfront, the 2-kilometer-long fence is about to come down.
我们这个横挡的吧，要拿掉的话，一定要把这个横杆统统去掉。这个横杆去掉的时候，因为这个横杆是固定在这块石块上的，这块立档拿掉以后的吧，这块下面的4块石头可能会一块带出来。明天来，我想外国人。明天还没开放啊，明天来。
On the run-up towards final inspection, engineer Chang notices that something is not right. There are spills, oil stains and marks all over the pristine pavement. They'll have to be cleaned. Desperate measures are needed, so he calls for help. With less than 24 hours to go before the opening, the fire department of Shanghai is mobilized to clean the entire 2,000-meter stretch of the Bund. While just a few blocks down, at Bund 33, workers are rushing to install the lift. Unlike the tunnel and landscaping teams, they have one more week to finish. But with more than 100 workers working round the clock, time is still too tight. Back at the tunnel site, it's a last-minute race to finish, but there's a big delay to the schedule. The tunnel team has been waiting for over 5 hours for the tarmac laying to begin, and tempers are fraying.
这怎么办呢？事情总有一个人做的。
事到临头了，只能这样处理了。
啊，就是啊。
现在料太少了，所以我们的摊铺不能顺利进行，需要我们继续等待。现在估计起码要等到6车辆以后，我们才可以进行正常的施工。
It's midnight, and Hao Liang is badly behind schedule. The 6 trucks eventually arrive, and the road crews immediately start laying the tarmac. With over 3,000 meters of tarmac to lay before 6 a.m., the workers are pushing ahead full steam to make up for lost time. It took them all night, but the tunnel team has made their deadline. Night falls, and with only 8 hours before the official opening, the mad rush to remove the fence and lay the tiles begins. And against what at one time looked like insurmountable odds, the landscaping team will also manage to finish on time. It's the dawn of March 28, the official handing over day for the tunnel and waterfront project. Minutes before the official ceremony of the tunnel, workers are still hectically completing the final touches. It's 30 minutes before the official ceremony for the opening of the tunnel and waterfront projects. After 2 years of planning and 12 months of intense work, it all boils down to this moment. Shanghai's top government officials and local celebrities are all gathered. Will the team's hard work be considered a success?
再一次用热烈的掌声，向今天莅临上海外滩综合改造工程竣工典礼的各位领导和来宾表示热烈的欢迎。
The answer's yes.
作为那个建设的代表，我觉得非常的荣幸。一个是我非常激动，第二个呢就是以前的一些辛苦也好啊，劳累也好，我想一下子就是消失了。
我们上海申办世博有一句口号：城市让生活更美好。我一直认为我们是一个城市的建造师，我们让这个城市更美好。我建造万滩的真正目的，也是看到今天这么一天，许多人走在万滩上，把这个美丽的万滩，融入他们的生活当中。
With part of the challenge successfully completed, the pressure is now on at Bund 33. Standing near the original HSBC, AIA and Standard Chartered buildings, it will take center stage on China's Wall Street as part of Shanghai's rising banking sector, whose stock exchange has eclipsed Hong Kong's and even Tokyo's.
I would say Shanghai has got the potential, it has got the ingredients to become the Wall Street of the East. It's a thriving commercial center, and Shanghai has an ambition to build itself into a world financial center by 2020. If you look at the economy as a whole, China is today the world's second largest economy. It's growing at an average of more than 10% for the last 30 years or so. So obviously a hugely thriving economy. And for us as a bank, it's a very important market.
And the scions of the banking world give Shanghai its resounding support as the Eastern financial powerhouse. Nearby, Bund 33 will soon be ready to receive its first guest.
快完成了，一个是觉得很兴奋，然后看到画在图纸上的东西全部都实现了，或者达到这样的一个效果，我觉得还是比较满意的。
33号这个项目也是我作为那个建筑师以来第一次接到的一个就是历史保护的建筑，而且我是一个土生土长的上海人，而且小时候生活的区域就在虹口杨浦那一块嘛。整个项目参与下来，的确是，获益良多，也学到了很多东西啊。我想每个人都珍爱自己的历史嘛，对，我想，这个项目可能里面也包含了我们所有的人对上海的感情。
Against all the odds, our 3 teams have completed their monumental challenge. But will the new improved Bund, China's Wall Street, live up to its hype?
"外滩又重新回到我们的怀抱，外滩比以前更加秀丽，更加美丽。
变成这个样子呢，我们觉得海外游子特别的自豪。锻炼的还更加美丽了，更加开心了，更加高兴了。
我们现在已经87岁了，87岁了。我们想最后再看看。